I used to believe that loyalty was enough, that if you stayed, endured, adjusted, loved consistently, life would eventually reward that effort. I was wrong, because loyalty, when taken for granted, doesn't break loudly. It fades silently. And sometimes life doesn't punish people directly. Sometimes it simply balances the scales. My name is Emily, and this is how I learned that lesson. When I married Daniel, I thought I was choosing safety. He was dependable, respected, admired, the kind of man others described as a good guy. And he was, in many ways. He worked hard, paid the bills, showed up when it mattered. At least, in the ways people could see. What people couldn't see was how much of myself I quietly gave away to keep our life running smoothly. In the early years, everything felt mutual. We talked for hours. He asked for my opinions, my thoughts, my feelings. I felt like a partner, not an accessory. When he struggled at work, I encouraged him. When he succeeded, I celebrated him like his wins were my own. I adjusted my career plans without resentment because I believed we were building something together. And at first, he noticed. He thanked me. He told me he couldn't do it without me. He said I was his anchor. But gratitude doesn't survive neglect. As time passed, Daniel grew comfortable. Not cruel, not unfaithful, just comfortable. Comfortable enough to stop trying. Comfortable enough to assume I'd always be there. Patient, understanding, flexible. I became the background of his life. Reliable, quiet, expected. When he worked late, I waited. When plans changed, I adapted. When he forgot important dates, I smiled and said it was okay. When I felt lonely sitting next to him on the couch while he scrolled on his phone, I told myself this was normal. This was marriage. This was adulthood. I didn't want to be difficult. I didn't want to nag. I didn't want to ask for more and seem ungrateful. So I gave more instead. I gave him emotional space to vent without judgment. I gave him stability when his confidence wavered. I gave him loyalty so steady it became invisible. And slowly, he stopped seeing it. The first time I realized something was wrong wasn't during a fight. It was during a silence. I had just finished telling him about my day. Something small, something that mattered to me. He nodded, eyes still on his phone, murmured a distracted response, and moved on to talking about his own stress. He didn't mean to dismiss me, but he did. And I told myself it didn't matter. That's the dangerous part about loyalty. You keep lowering the volume of your needs until even you can't hear them anymore. Years passed like that. Not unhappy years, just muted ones. I stopped bringing things up because they rarely went anywhere. I stopped expecting him to notice when I was tired, or sad, or quietly overwhelmed. I told myself love wasn't about being seen all the time. But deep down, I felt alone in a marriage that looked perfectly fine from the outside. One evening, I finally tried to explain it. We were sitting at the kitchen table. He was answering emails. I was rehearsing courage. I feel like I'm always adjusting, I said. Like my needs come last. He looked up, surprised, almost defensive. That's not true. You know I appreciate you. Appreciation. That word stayed with me long after the conversation ended. Because appreciation didn't ask questions. It didn't make room. It didn't change behavior. It just acknowledged existence. That night, lying beside him, I realized something painful and clarifying. Daniel wasn't intentionally hurting me. He just didn't need to try anymore. My loyalty had made things too easy. And that's when something in me shifted. Not in anger, not in bitterness, in awareness. I stopped explaining myself. I didn't announce it. I didn't threaten to leave. I simply stopped pouring energy into places that stayed empty. I started paying attention to myself again, to what I wanted, to how much I had postponed my own growth to keep things comfortable. I accepted new responsibilities at work. I reconnected with friends I had quietly lost touch with. I enrolled in evening classes for something I'd always wanted to learn, but never made time for. Daniel noticed, eventually. "You've been busy lately," he said one night. "I have," I replied. That was it. No justification, no apology. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was standing on my own feet again. He assumed I was content. He thought the calm meant peace. He didn't understand the difference between distance and detachment. When his work hit a rough patch, he came home expecting the old version of me. The emotional cushion, the reassurance, the steady presence that absorbed his stress. I listened, but I didn't rescue him. I was kind, but I was no longer carrying everything. He felt it immediately. "You seem different," he said one evening. I looked at him and realized how long it had been since he really looked at me. "I am," I said quietly. "I had to be." He didn't know what that meant yet. Neither did I, fully. But life had already begun adjusting the balance.